To me. Okay, cool. Anyways, anything you want to add before I start, Dolores?
No, I want to welcome Sue, who is our head honcho on UC Travel, and she's with us today. And we have the president of our UCLA Retirement Board, Ms. Fox, is here with us today. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. And I'll turn it over to here's Jay.
Thank you. Well, we have a few trips we want to highlight today, just kind of give you a feel for where we're at and what we're looking at for next year. So I'm Jay, I'm with Collette. I've been there 32 years, which still blows my mind. Doesn't seem like that long, but my last name's Fian, by the way. I live up here in the Sacramento area. Collette, if you're not familiar with us, we are family owned. We're the oldest tour company in the US, 104 years in business. You see us a lot on Wheel of Fortune. And our standing in the market is a 4-star operator. So we don't run around trying to be the cheapest. That being said, though, we're not 5-star. We're not staying at Ritz-Carlton's and eating, lobster every night or anything like that. But just good, solid hotels, lots of included sightseeing. We stay in the heart of major cities when you're visiting a city. So we don't stay 40 miles out or anything like that. We keep our side trips or optional tours to a minimum, which I think is great. I know some travel companies, you book a trip and then you get a list of 20 side trips you got to pay for. And that really adds up. So I find that we're really quite inclusive. Baggage handling's included. And we do give you the real price with air on these trips. If you ever want to do your own air, that's fine too. We'll take the air out of the price. But we like to start with an honest upfront price on the trips. All right. So anyways, let's go ahead and, well, another thing, I'm super proud of Collette for this is we did refund everyone's money as we canceled trips due to COVID. Most of my competitors did vouchers or future travel credits or all kinds of creative words, but we just felt if we can't deliver what you bought, the ethical thing to do is refund money. All right, so we're up to actually right now about 148 million in refunds. This slide's a little old, but this is what kind of keeps me at Collette is I find when times get tough, they do what's right and what's ethical. So I like that. So at least when you book a trip now, if things get worse or we get a new pandemic or God forbid anything like that, you know your money's safe. In fact, the Canadian Rockies, a lot of folks canceled and they got their money back. All right. So anyways, it works. All right. So the first trip I'm going to talk about is a small group trip. This is going in the spring. We're actually past deadline right now, but there's still 6 spots. So we thought we got 6 more spots. Let's go ahead and show it. This is an April 20th trip that we're going to be doing to a big event that happens once every 10 years, and it's called the Floriade. All right. And so this is our Netherlands, Belgium, and France trip. All right. Average group size on these is 19 people. The trip is 12 days. Here's your map there. Nice leisurely pace to the program. We're going to do 3 nights Amsterdam, then 2 nights in Bruges, 2 nights in Reims, France, and then our final 3 nights in Paris. All right. So once again, departure date is April 20th. And we'll catch our overnight flight in to Amsterdam. We try to have a welcome reception and dinner that first evening in, even though everyone's a little tired from the overnight flight, but it kind of keeps everyone awake and focused and a nice chance to meet your fellow travelers. All right. After you've had a good night's sleep, now we're going to tour the city of Amsterdam. And the best way to tour Amsterdam, since there's so many waterways, is on the little canal cruises. So we'll be doing this cruise to get us oriented to the city. It's a beautiful city if you haven't been. I was amazed how many bicycles just everywhere. Now in the evening, the tour guide will probably offer a little walk to the red light district. We usually don't put this in the itinerary because it sounds very strange, but the red light district is one of their top attractions. So we'd be remiss if we didn't at least offer a visit there. So it's a little walk, and I don't know if any of you have been there, but the women stand in windows like mannequins at a Macy's or something. It's just a little different. Okay, next day, everybody, we are going to go to Kukenhof Gardens. All right, so Kukenhof, and this happens every spring. This is not the Floriade, but these are the famous tulip gardens outside Amsterdam. 7 million tulips. All right, so really beautiful to see. And I'll tell you, if it's a rainy day, I know my brother and I sent my parents over here for their 50th anniversary, and it was raining that day. And so they have this great indoor area where you can take great photos, so you don't have to worry about weather. In fact, I'm using some of my mom's photos from the trip. In fact, some of these flowers are so big, you really can't tell without an object in there. So my mom put her hand in there, and now you see these flowers are like the size of a dinner plate, you know, huge. And she took this picture too. I just love it. I don't know who that kid is, but it's a cute photo. Okay, next everybody is the Floriade. So once again, this is kind of an event tour once every 10 years. A bunch of countries come together. This time it's going to be 40 different countries with displays about gardening, you know, flowers, shrubs, what have you. One of the big focuses at the next Floriade is going to be how we go green as a planet. And so you'll see from this map, we've got Schiphol labeled, that's the airport, Amsterdam labeled. So you see it is outside the city a bit. It's going to be on 146 acres. And so there'll be displays like this on how the future of buildings will look as they try to go green. You'll see in this photo, they have a sky ride across the park, a lecture going on. But a lot of us like to visit the greenhouses with the various flowers. And this runs, just so you know, from May till the first week of October. So it does run all summer. We wanted to go in the spring so that we could get the Floriade and all the flowers at their best, but also include the Kukenhof tulips as well. So if you're in the garden club or someone who loves flowers and gardening, I think you'll just love this trip. So once again, that's a Floriade. So if you miss this trip, the next Floriade opportunity will be 2032, okay, because that's when it will be put on again another 10 years from now. So that evening we'll come back and we're going to visit a brewery and do some tasting as well as have dinner. And then the next day, everybody, we're off to Gouda, all right, to learn about cheese, visit the cheese factory, do some tasting. And then we'll visit Kinderdijk. This is the windmill capital of the Netherlands. More windmills here than anywhere else. Then we're going to arrive in Bruges. And Bruges is such a delightful little city. They kind of consider it Venice of the West, you know, so a lot of waterways. Notice the ivy growing up the walls there. It's just so charming. So we're here for 2 nights, which is a treat. We'll do a walking tour. All right, so you really can't do a bus tour in places like this that have mostly waterways. So you'll love the guild architecture and the waterways. It's just gorgeous. And then you'll have some free time while you're here as well. All right, so this is the lace capital of the world, they say. More lace is produced here than anywhere else. Also, chocolates are a big thing because you're Belgium chocolates. We're going to have an included kind of dine around lunch where we go to various spots, you know, for one appetizer, then the main course, then the dessert. Then we're going to go tour Brussels. All right, you'll learn about The Hague and the history behind Brussels. And then after our 2 nights Bruges, we're going to head down to Reims, all right, for a 2-night stay. We'll tour the Notre Dame Cathedral, not to be confused with the one in Paris that burned. This is a different one. Absolutely gorgeous, though. And this puts you into the Champagne region of France. So we're going to do the Route des Champagne, visit some vineyards, do some tasting. And then from there, everybody, we get into Paris, and we're going to have a 3-night stay in Paris. All right. So I always like our small group tours because we try to include really different things that are just kind of unique. And on this tour, you're going to tour Paris in historic cars with a tour guide. So we're going to break up into a real small group, get into these old cars and tour the city. All right. So that's kind of fun, a little different. We'll also give you an entire free day because we're there for 3 days. So it's nice. And I don't think anyone can ever be bored in Paris. I mean, just so much to see and do. This is the photo of the Champs-Élysées. I know I spent some time there, enjoyed the sidewalk cafes, just people watching. Of course, some of the shops were so expensive. I could tell by the door if I could afford to go in or not, you know. And then, of course, you can visit the Louvre. You know, there's just so much to do in Paris. Now, there'll be a couple of optional tours while we're there. This is one of them. This is the oldest cabaret in Paris. dinner, wine. I enjoyed it, although I will say I wasn't ready. We're just not used to, in America, we go to these G-rated dinner theaters, and they're in France. They like to take their clothes off. So they kind of came out naked halfway through, and it was a little shocking for us Americans. So just a reminder, it is PG-13 rated, the cabaret. Now, next day, we're going to have a choice on tour. Most of our tours have these. Choice on tour is included in the price. So don't ever think there's an extra fee for these. But what it is 2 activities that happen at the same time, and you choose which one you prefer. All right. Some of them are hard choices. Like I find this a hard choice because they're both fabulous, So the first one is the Diorse Museum, which I actually enjoyed more than the Louvre. And it's in an old train station. It's just beautiful, great art displays there. And then choice 2 is to go out to Giverny and visit Monet's home and garden and pond, and just beautiful. So both of these are really fun. All right. And then our farewell dinner is normally a cooking class. So we'll have a chef meet us and teach us some French specialties. All right. And then we'll get to eat what we helped create. And then we'll catch our flight home. I heard a noise. I don't know what that noise meant, but anyway, there is an extension on this trip. All right. If you want to stay a little longer, there's an extension to London. As you know, Paris and London are connected by train that goes under the English Channel, or the Channel, as most of us know it. So this package would include your Channel ride, and then you're there for 3 nights. We'll have 2 days of sightseeing passes for you to go to the various sites: Kensington Palace, Tower of London. That's where Henry VIII beheaded a couple of his wives. And so anyways, if you haven't done London, fun to add that on to the trip. All right. So once again, we only have 6 seats left. I think Dolores might have posted all the links, but this is a quick glimpse of our link. And I thought maybe we'll see if anyone has questions. Anyone? No?
So how many days would that be, even if you included the London trip?
So it's 12 days, and then London's 3 more. So we're at 15, a little over 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know, Dolores, are a lot of them doing the London extension? Have you found? Or
I haven't checked to see. That's an interesting question. I will check and see and let everybody know.
yeah,
That's an
that'd be interesting to see. 'Cause
Yeah,
like I
that's
said, we have
interesting. That's
what do we have?
that's an interesting thought. Mhm.
we have
It's, to me, it seems while you're there, it's a short train ride away. Absolutely.
yeah.
So
If I'm gonna fly that far, I like to stay a while. That's just
It's a long way to go. That's a long
Yeah.
way to go. Might as well
Everybody's-
stay. Yeah, sounds great. I have been to numerous of these, numerous of the places that you mentioned. It's always great to go back there. Believe me, you cannot see a lot of these places. Just give me an hour and I'll browse through. No, it takes.
So some
I
of
was
these,
there and I did the museum pass to see every museum, and in a matter of 3 or 4 days. Believe me, 3 or 4 days wasn't enough.
Mm.
oh,
You
right.
get entrenched into one and you go, oh my God, that's right, I have to go to the next one. It's really very, and what's interesting too, is going to the red light district. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I went with my daughter and some other people, and they said it was so interesting
Yes.
that, it's made to be like a retail district. That's what it's like. It's retail, only you buy different things there. And
Yes.
it's really interesting. And the people look at it just like if you were shopping at Macy's, only you're shopping for something else. It was very interesting.
It's a different world, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Anybody
Yes, it
else have
is.
questions before we move on to the next one?
Oh, we see we
One
have
chat.
one that's on the chat.
Oh,
Hold on, let's take a look.
and then,
Is London for double occupancy only?
No, there's a single rate, and I can get that for you. I think when you open the link, it lists double only, but we can get the single.
Yes.
Yeah, if you don't mind, remind me at the end once I'm not sharing my screen. It's funny when you're doing these shows and you're sharing your screen, you're so limited to what you can see and do. So I can definitely look that up
Yes.
by the end of the show.
On the website, that does give, it always gives you the single and the double occupancy. Mhm.
I wasn't sure with the extension if it did both, but if it doesn't, we'll
No, you're
definitely.
absolutely right. You're absolutely, I'm not sure. I don't want to jump in and say yes, and I haven't looked. So
Yeah.
I left
Well,
my email there. So if people want me to go check, I'll certainly go do that for you.
Yeah, and I can do it at the end of the meeting once I'm not sharing the
Oh,
screen here. I
great,
think I'll go ahead though and
great.
move to the Next one, this is one of my
Okay.
best sellers out of California. People just love this tour, and I'm biased. I love it too, but I'm from New England, so take it for a grain of salt. I grew up right in this region and went to college here and all that. But this is a nice trip to New England, and just keep in mind this focuses on the islands and the coast. So it's very different from fall foliage tours that go into Vermont and New Hampshire, and of course those tend to go more in October. We're doing this late August, but once again, it's about the islands and the coastline, and a beautiful trip. And I love trips like this because we're only changing hotels once. I mean, what a treat. 8 days. You're going to get 3 nights in Providence, 4 nights on Cape Cod. All right. And you'll see we kind of go out to the various islands, Block Island, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Cape Cod, which is an island. So just a great itinerary. All right. So we start in Providence, and this is nicknamed the Renaissance City, and it really has gone through a renaissance. I went to college in the late 80s here, and it was really a rundown, dumpy city. And this mayor came in, Buddy Cianci, the mayor, and he served 2 terms. And boy, did he clean up the city and made it a showplace. Now, what's interesting is he did most of it illegally through, bribery and coercion and all this stuff. And he ended up going to jail for 9 years. But then he came out and he was going to run for office again. He's so popular for making it a showplace, even though he's kind of a criminal. But he ended up passing away a few years back, and so. But he took areas like this. This was a parking lot, and he realized water was underneath. And look what he did with the parks, the water fountains on weekends. They have fire that shoots out of those spigots as well as water, and it's called Fire Walk. It's just turned downtown into a showplace. He got the first Nordstroms to come to New England. So it's very interesting. So we'll tour downtown and learn about Buddy Cianci and see the Capitol. Then we'll go over to the old east side of Providence. This is a lot of historic buildings here. This is where Brown University is located. In fact, when you see this picture here on the left, that red cross, it's part of Brown University, but it was actually a hospital in the Revolutionary War. That's how old things are over there. They also have the oldest First Baptist church in our country over there. So it's pretty interesting stuff. Now, Rhode Island's a tiny, tiny state. So we'll be doing Providence in the morning, and about a 35-minute ride, we're into Newport along the coast. And Newport is where a lot of rich folks years ago would come and spend their summers. And we're talking real rich, Vanderbilts, Astors, those kind of folks. And so they built what they called summer cottages. All right. We call them the Newport Mansions. This is Bellevue Avenue, where most of them are located. And so as you drive down the road, it's just amazing to see these summer cottages. And then we're going to have a choice of which mansion we want to tour. All right. I love these choice on tours. So if you've been there before, maybe you've done one of these. But yeah, so kind of a hard choice if you've not been. So Rose Cliff on the right was used in the film The Great Gatsby with Frank Sinatra, Mia Farrow. It was also used in True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis. I gotta admit, my favorite is Marble House. I just love the way he decorated and all the money, he had. Kind of crazy. But here's another view of Rose Cliff. But yeah, Marble was William Vanderbilt's summer home. And look at the inside. I mean,
Wow.
just gorgeous. I love his dining room with the fresco. And he was a big fan of drinking tea. And so he actually had a Japanese tea house put in his backyard. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
And as I recall, Jay, I think these were only their summer homes. They were only there for the summer. The rest of the time they were in New York. So
yeah, so these
sometimes
down in their plantations. As you know, they own the Vanderbilts had the Biltmore down in the
that's right.
Asheville area. So yeah, they would come up just for the summer. Talk about having money to burn. And of course, they would have these elegant parties and compete with each other for whose parties were the most elegant. It's really the gilded area that late 1800s, early 1900s in Newport were just amazing. If you ever get a chance to read about them, it's pretty cool. Now, next day, we're going to visit an island that's well known in New England, but out west here, a lot of people have never heard of it. And it's called Block Island. So we'll travel to Point Judith. We'll take a ferry out to Block Island. It's less than 10 square miles. It's a beautiful island. We're going to have an included lunch out there, get to sample some of New England's great seafood, and then we'll take a ferry back. All right. So we have a few ferries on this trip, just so you know. All right. Next day, we leave our hotel in Providence. That was our 3 nights in Providence. And we're going to head towards Cape Cod for our 4-night stay. But en route, just before we go over the bridge onto Cape Cod, we're going to stop in Plymouth and spend a good chunk of the day in Plymouth, Massachusetts. This was the cranberry capital for a long, long time. Wisconsin has now surpassed it. But anyways, this is where Ocean Spray's headquarters are still located to this day. We're going to visit a cranberry bog and learn about cranberries. And then from there, of course, you got to see a look at the famous Plymouth Rock. Although I grew up right near here, and I always thought this rock was terribly overrated because it is historic that the Pilgrims landed at the rock, but people picture the Rock of Gibraltar, and it's not. It's a rock in a pit. Okay. But still, it's one of the things you got to just see anyways. All right. Now from there, we travel over the Bourne Bridge onto the island of Cape Cod. And this is going to be our hotel on the Cape, the Seacrest. We're here for 3 nights, or sorry, 4 nights, 4 nights at this hotel. All right. Anyways, it's nice. Cape Cod is known for its beaches. So I'm glad we're at a beach hotel. And at the end of each day, you can go walk in the sand or what have you. So we are going to have a lobster dinner included. We do that on most of our New England tours, since that's such a staple of being in New England. And I didn't move to California till what, 97. And I was so shocked when I ordered lobster out here that you don't get the whole thing. You just get a tail. And quite often it's from Australia, which I don't get. But this is, fresh New England lobster. You get the whole thing. And of course, the tour guide's there to help you break it up if you have any issues, Okay, next day, everybody, we are off to Martha's Vineyard. All right, we'll visit Gay Head out there. Our bus comes on the ferry, by the way. So we take a ferry out, ferry back, but we will have access to our bus so that we can tour the island. I think Martha's Vineyard is the most spectacular of all the islands out there. Just so quaint. As you know, most of our presidents like to vacation here. It's very hard for the paparazzi to bother them. That's part of the reason, but it's just so charming. And this is where a lot of celebrities choose to live. Ted Danson and his wife, Mary Steenburgen, still live out here. Carly Simon, as well as her ex, James Taylor, both live on Martha's Vineyard. Kind of surprised with the divorce that one wouldn't go to another island. But, Mike Wallace had a home out here. So it's just a beautiful island, and of course, we'll visit some of the gingerbread cottages and see those. But once again, tour the island, have some time to have lunch and do some browsing. All right. Next, back in the mainland, we'll visit Falmouth. And then we're going to head out to Provincetown for the day. Now, Provincetown is at the very tip of the hook that is Cape Cod. All right. It's an artist colony. Beautiful out there. They have the National Sand Dunes Recreation Area as well. So we'll visit Provincetown. You'll have time for lunch and browsing. And then we're going to have another choice on tour. And this one's a hard one to me because I love both of them. Either a whale watching trip or a dunes ride. All right. So both fabulous. The sand dunes, you're in kind of a Jeep and they take you all around the dunes recreation area. And then, of course, whale watching cruise speaks for itself. So choice is yours. All right, next, Hyannis Port. This is where the Kennedys live. The Kennedy compound is located. In fact, we usually drive by it, but big walls, you just see the roof. But it's kind of interesting. We'll see the Kennedy Memorial while we're there too. Now we'll also take a ferry to Nantucket Island. All right, another beautiful island, smaller than Martha's Vineyard, but really quite interesting. You'll have time to browse there. We'll do some sightseeing there. Once again, the bus is with us on the ferry. A lot of artists and what have you out there. Going to learn about lobsters, all the rules regarding catching lobsters, the size they have to be, what have you. We'll have a nice farewell dinner, say goodbye to everybody, and then we'll fly on home. All right, so that's the islands of New England. There's an extension on this one too, for those of you that want to stay a little longer, and it's an extension in downtown Boston. So on this trip, what we do is we travel at the last day from Cape Cod into Boston. We'll drop those of you staying the 2 nights at your hotel, which is the Park Plaza. And then everyone else will bring right to the airport, Logan Airport. But it's nice to have a couple nights Boston. So much history here, Revolutionary War history, Paul Revere, all that good stuff. We are going to include a hop-on, hop-off trolley for you so that you get to tour the city. And of course, you'll have time at Faneuil Hall and Quincy Market and all the key sites that you want to see in Boston. before you catch your flight home. All right, so that is our Islands of New England trip going August 26th next year. Here's the link. All right, and our deadline to sign up on this one, just so you know, is February 26th. All right, how about questions on this?
Did we have any? Oh, they wanted to more back on, this would apply to any of them. Are there wheelchair tours on any of these whatsoever? Like you mentioned, this came up during your trip on Amsterdam and New England, but it could apply to any of them. Are there, if you need accessibility, is it available?
So the ADA law is the American Disabilities Act. And so just so you know, in the US, yes, although being a tour company, we don't provide medical devices. So we don't provide oxygen, we don't provide wheelchairs, walkers, things like that. However, I've had people on my tours, they bring their own. You can stick a luggage tag onto an oxygen tank or a luggage tag onto your walker or wheelchair, and you come on the trip. And the airlines, of course, when it's a medical device, don't count it against you for luggage fees or any of that kind of stuff. And the driver and guide are, accustomed to taking things in and out of the bus at various stops,
So they could get on the bus. They will just store the wheelchair below. Is that it?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
So the
great. I think
folding
that's-
wheelchairs are ideal. Just remember, if you bring an electronic, some of those electronic wheelchairs, they're heavy, and bus drivers and tour guides cannot be lifting 300-pound things, and obviously if you bring a wheelchair, you need to bring someone along with you to push the wheelchair. Our tour guides are in charge of the group, not pushing folks. I don't know if you can tell, I was a tour guide for 11 years, so these subjects are near and dear to my heart.
You just do this too well, Jay.
Oh, well, no. I mean, I feel bad because some people forget about bringing someone to push them, and the tour guide has a lot of people to look after. They cannot be in charge of that. So, I always tell folks, just if need be, pay for someone to go to be your pusher. That's a win-win. They get a free trip, but they push you around. But
Yeah, well, makes perfect sense.
but the more you can tell us when you book, the better. If you have a special medical situation, we have it's called a special needs form that we would get to you, and you could fill out and send in to us, so we know exactly what the issues are. Whether some people just need handicap room with bars, others need a room near the elevator because they can't walk long hallways. Just let us know the situation.
I have traveled with a friend who was wheelchair bound, and everybody was uber nice. I mean, they just went out of the way on the Canadian train. You would have thought she was the queen. I mean, they made sure she got on the train first, and they stored the wheelchair. And when she got off, the wheelchair was right there. So everybody was, I've never seen, when you travel, people, if you like the catches, if you tell them in advance.
Well, that's a big thing, especially if we need a lift bus. That we have to be notified because there aren't many around. They're a little hard to get. We have to charter them real early. And that would be for someone who, most of the folks that we get that prefer use of a wheelchair can go up the bus steps, All right, well, we'll just keep moving along, I guess. We're set with this one. So I'm just going to mention this one, and I hope y'all don't mind, but we showed this 3 to 4 times last year. And then it, as you know, canceled, and we had to go to next year. If there's requests or demands for a show, I was thinking I could do a recorded one that Dolores can shoot out to all of you that want to watch it. It's just, we don't want to bore people that sat through this 3 times last year to sit through it again, because this one does take a little time to present, with overnight cabins and all that good stuff. But what we did, as you know, is this tour was not going to operate as promised. So we let people decide, do you want to go this year on a different tour, similar but different? And we sent that out. We had 5 people say yes. We had 16 or 18 say no, I'll go next year. And we moved them to next year. We locked in the rate for them. But we do have the new version out for next year, the date, the price, all that. And just a reminder, this is the route. Of course, you take the train all the way across British Columbia, 2 nights in Jasper National Park. Then we travel by motor coach down into Lake Louise. All right, we'll be spending the night at the famous Chateau Lake Louise. And then from there, a short ride brings us to Banff. We do stay at the elegant Banff Springs Hotel. Those are both railroad hotels, hence the tie-in. But we get 2 nights at that elegant hotel. And then the final night is Calgary, all right, which leads us to flying home. So here's the link on that one. It is the same number as last year's link because we just moved it right over. All right, but any quick questions before we?
I would just let everybody know that those 2 hotels that you stay at are absolutely worth the trip. If you just went and stayed at those, there, I have read about them. I have friends who stayed at them, and it's all they could talk about. They didn't talk about what else they did. They just talked about those. So when I had mentioned that there was an opportunity to go say, oh, you have to stay at those 2 hotels, which is why, what do you think, Jay? I think when they changed the itinerary, one of the hotels was cut out, wasn't it?
Yeah, the other version we do is a different train company and just slightly different routing. And it's funny, it does stay the one night at Chateau Lake Louise, but in Banff, it stayed at the Rimrock, which is a 5-star. But there were folks who said it's not the Banff Springs, so I'm not going.
And that was one. So they
you know.
wanted to stay for next year's and be able to go to the Banff.
Yeah.
I don't see any. Christina wants to see access the recording for the Rockies by train. We might still have that. I'm not sure, but I can look into that for you, Christina.
Yeah, and I can always re-record it, Dolores. I just didn't want to eat up. I mean, because I swear that maybe it's just me, but when I show pictures of the Rockies train, it takes a while. And I thought we have a lot of other stuff to show. And if people aren't interested, they've already sat through it 3 times. So I thought we'll save it. But I can always re-record or shoot something out and we can email it to folks.
I think in my over talking self, someone was going to ask a question. Are you still there? There's somebody who wanted, Anne wanted to know the dates for the trip. Let me see if I've got that.
Which one, train or the Cape Cod?
Train trip. I think it's September 5 through September 13th on the Canadian Rockies.
All right, great. Well, I'm going to go ahead then and move into our next exciting. I'm super excited about this one. Love good deals. And this one, if you've ever looked at doing river cruises, they're very expensive. I'm sure some of us see those Viking ads on TV and pick up the phone or go on websites or something, but river cruising is fabulous, but pricey. Most of them start at 46, 48 and go into the 5s and 6s and what have you. And so some of us have been hesitant till you don't know if you're going to like it or not, and you're spending that kind of money. But anyways, this is such a great trip at an amazing price. So this land, air, cruise, everything out the door, $34.99 is where it starts. Oh. All right. That is just such a steal for a river cruise. And then from there, you can go middle deck, upper deck, but even then, especially middle deck, very affordable. So I just want to kind of bring you through the tour. And if you've never tried a river cruise, something to look at. This was my first river cruise. I've done a few of them, but love this one. So this is our routing on this one, everybody. We're going to travel on over December 2nd, fly out. We're going to land in Frankfurt. All right. We're going to transfer to the town of Wurzburg. All right. Wurzburg actually sits on the Main River, but we're going to spend 1 night in a hotel. And that's always nice too, because, if your luggage gets delayed, you don't want to be on a riverboat. You want to get your luggage caught up with you before the riverboat. So I always like land time before I jump on a ship. All right. From there, everyone, we go to Rothenburg. All right. Visit Rothenburg, then visit Nuremberg. Amazing. I love Nuremberg. Lots of history there. And then we'll board our ship and you'll see the blue dots. See all the blue dots? That's our cruise. All right. 6 nights on the cruise. And then we'll get off the cruise in Vienna. And then that's where we'll fly home. Now, if you want to stay longer, there is an extension up to Prague for a couple nights. All right. Once again, some folks, when they go to Europe, want to stay longer.
That's a long way to go to stay just for a few days.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's 9 days. And if you add Prague, you're at 11 days. All right. So, so this is where we start our tour, though. So we'll meet you at the airport, transfer you here to Wurzburg, beautiful little town. Once again, on the Main River, not on the Danube itself. Beautiful place to stay. We'll meet our fellow travelers. We're going to do a walking tour. We'll include a visit to the Bishop's Palace, the residential palace. This has one of the largest frescoes in all of Europe. So there's a photo of the fresco, absolutely gorgeous. And here's the bridge over the river. So we'll do sightseeing there. We'll also next day go to Rothenburg. I know you recognize Rothenburg. It's in a lot of catalogs and what have you. Such a beautiful little town. Now, every town has a Christmas market, and this is a common question I get. So I do like to address it because people say, Jay, you know, I've heard the word, but what the heck is a Christkindl mart or a Christmas market? And when you analyze it, it's a lot like what we do in the summer, but we call ours farmers markets. So look at a farmers market. It's in the center of your town. It's where local farmers are selling their stuff, right? Well, that's what these are, but it's at Christmas. So this is where local artisans come to the center square. They have booths and they sell stuff from steins to Christmas ornaments to food they made, baked goods, what have you. It just has a fun atmosphere. So if you're a local living in one of these spots, you would go to the Christmas market probably 2-3 times a week. You'd meet your friends, you'd have some wine down there. So people go to shop, but also just for the social, the lights, the music, the atmosphere, you know. Fun stuff. We're going to visit a little Christmas ornament museum and learn how to make ornaments. And then this is the Nuremberg market. And it is in Nuremberg that we'll board our ship. All right. So I want to talk about river cruising too, because some of us have been on Princess and Holland America and all those. And we get the river cruises are different, but we don't know all the differences. So I got to admit, I was really swayed once I took one because I used to do Holland America a lot, and nothing wrong with big ship cruising, but I just love the intimacy more, much smaller crowds. But I also like that they weren't trying to sell me stuff all the time, because these big ships are always trying to take a picture of me at dinner and a picture here and there and sell me the side trip, sell me the spa, have me go to the art show. Well, when you're on these river cruises, there's a lot more included and they're not trying to sell you constantly. And to me, that was fabulous. And when I say smaller crowd, it's 148 people if it's full. Okay. So much smaller than 3,000. All right. 148. So I just want you to see what the ships look like and talk about the different cabin categories, because this is always a big decision for folks. And this is another one of my mom's pictures, actually. But I love this because it really showed you up close the differences with the cabin category. She took this as she was boarding the cruise. And I'm like, oh my God, perfect photo. So those bottom windows, see the white curtains, the bottom windows right above the water, that's what they call lower deck. All right. That is always the cheapest. And in this case, it's $34.99. I mean, that's just unbelievably reasonable. Now that middle, see the middle deck there with those great windows, that's $38.99, which once again, to be under $4 for anything with a river cruise is such a steal. And then if you want that very top deck, we're at $42.99. All right. And of course, as usual, the rates I'm talking about include airfare and everything. All right. Now, some people say and I agree. I'm going to do the lower deck because I'm saving what, $400 off the middle, and I can use that for my Christmas shopping, or I can use it for whatever. So some of us don't hang out in our cabin much. We go to sleep, we take a shower. That's the only time we're there. All right. But there's others that want to read a book, play with their phone, do whatever, and want to look out that window and have that view. So, you know, once again, it's up to you and what price point you're comfortable with and what have you. But I will say middle and lower sell out first. So if you're, you know, picky, you want it. That's why we wanted to show this today. We want you to sign up and book and get the cabin you want, because as you know, we all have friends that are going to reach out to Dolores next Memorial Day and say, what do you got left for space? And they're only going to get what's left, which would be upper or suite.
Hey, could you do the prices again? What does the middle one cost?
So yeah, lowest, and you'll see this on the link, of course. The lowest is $34.99. Middle is
And that's
$38.
the lowest is the water line, right?
Yeah, you're above the water line though. You don't see fish come by or anything, you know.
Right there. Yeah. You know, and the second level?
$38.99. I mean, only 400 more to get those big windows.
And the top one?
Top one's $42.99.
Okay.
All right, so people ask, what do the cabins look like? This gives you a feel. So that would be a middle or an upper. All right. So on these ships now, you can slide your window open, you can stick your head out, but they don't have the balconies here. And I think you'll realize why. So this is a true story. My first cruise was this one. And I just remember, and I think it was my first night on the ship. I was tired from the overnight flight, all that good stuff. Oh shoot, is my battery dying? Oh my God. Am I not plugged in? Oh shoot, hang on. I might need to run and get my plug super quick. You know what? Let me pause the recording real fast. Pause recording. Okay, now, where did it all go? Hang on.
We were just at the Strauss cabin.
All right. Can you guys see that?
No?
No. You have to get rid of your screen.
You aren't in presentation mode.
Oh, resume share. Let me try this. Oh, do I have to start all over? Hang on. So sorry about that. I cannot believe I wasn't plugged in. My battery is not the best on this laptop. Let me go down to where we were. Let's see. All right, so, I was with her in the cabin. Go back. Oh, and all the way to the beginning, shoot. Zoom drama. Back, here we are.
There you are, Jay.
There we
133.
go.
There you go.
Perfect. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
There we
Great.
go. Yes.
All right. So what's really nice on the river cruising too, you order off the menu each night. They're not trying to sell you an upscale restaurant upstairs, what have you. And then what I really love too is that wine and beer are included at dinner. You can tell by that lady's smile, there's a lot of great wine included. And dinner is like 2 hours. So I'm talking a lot of beer and wine if you want. They kept refilling mine. And I said, I know I'm not driving, but what are you trying to do? But just fabulous. So unlike the big ships, you don't have to buy a booze package. You don't get nickeled and dimed, that way. So just remember on river cruises, everything's smaller. So here's the spa, it's smaller. There's no duty-free hallway full of shopping. I gotta admit, I kind of laughed at the gym. It was like 2 bicycles, a barbell, and a bowl of apples. It's like, okay, this isn't quite like Princess with 14 ellipticals, but who cares? Anyways, the ship's all done up with the holiday decor, just beautiful. But, I think I was telling you the story. So my first night on the ship, I just remember I woke up and I thought, oh my God, what's happening? And I opened my curtain and there was like a cement wall, like 6 inches from me, a cement wall. And I thought, oh my God, am I in prison? What's going on? And I look around, I'm like, it's too pretty for that. And it took me a minute to realize we were in a lock, and that while you're sleeping and cruising, you go through these locks. And that's why you don't have that extended balcony. It would get torn off, because when he's in a lock and you look out your window, boy, he's got just inches on each side. So this gives you a feel for the dining room. All right. Here's the Nuremberg Christmas market. This was one of my favorite Christmas markets, probably Vienna and this one. Just so much fun. I don't know, great food, great shopping. Now we're going to tour Nuremberg, which is really interesting. They take you out to the Nazi rally grounds, which was really creepy. But then as you tour, you go by the courthouses where they had judgment at Nuremberg, the war trials. And so really interesting stuff. And then of course, later in the day, the market opens. And so, yeah, you'll find shopping opportunities, but I just love the atmosphere. In fact, to be honest, I want to go back and do more Christmas markets, steins, nutcrackers, gingerbread items. Gingerbread is from this region, so a lot of gingerbread things. Anyways, we will keep cruising along. Next port of call, you wake up here, Regensburg. This has the historic bridge. Now, in smaller towns, we do go out and do a walking tour. There's no bus company to hire, and it's a smaller town. You don't really need a bus to go a few blocks. And Regensburg is one of those. So we'll do a walking tour around Regensburg, see some of the historic sites. There's the bridge. Their Christmas market was kind of cute. It was one of the smallest. It had about 9 stalls to it. It wasn't as big as Nuremberg, that's for sure. Next is Pasau. This is where the two rivers merge. And so another cute, cute town. It has a church with one of the largest church organs in all of Europe, 17,000 pipes. And once again, do a little walking tour of Pasau. Gotta get hungry looking at all these photos. Now, this part of the Danube, we always cruise during the daylight hours just because it's considered the prettiest part. It's the Vodka Valley, Emmersdorf, Dornstein, just beautiful. Over to the Melk Abbey. This sits on the cliffs overlooking the Danube River. Now, Glühwein is, this was fun. So this is a local tradition too, is at Christmas markets, they make their own wine, and it's a mulled wine, and they serve it in a souvenir mug. So a lot of folks were trying to collect mugs throughout the trip, you know, and good stuff, warms you up, you know. Anyways, this is Vienna. This is where their Christmas markets are, right in front of their gorgeous city hall. So we're going to tour Vienna while we're there. This is where the trip wraps up. The river cruise wraps up. All right. So once again, a city tour over to the Hofburg, St. Stephen's, all your must-see sites while we're there. Gotta love some of the desserts, you know, apple strudel, big dessert in Vienna. I like Black Forest cake too. Now, during your free afternoon, this is an optional tour. If you want to do it, this is where the Habsburg family had their summer home, Schönbrunn Palace. It's 1,441 rooms. All right. But if you do this tour, they don't take you to every room. All right. But interesting to see, you know. This is what the ship looks like when it's docked next to the river. Really fun. I don't know. I do this trip again in a heartbeat. So that's our Christmas markets wrapping up in Vienna. Now, don't forget, there's the 2-night extension to Prague. All right. If you want to go up there, Prague is just a gorgeous city. Of course, we'll include a city tour of the Radcani Castle and all that, as well as St. Vitus's Cathedral down to Old Town, the Old Tin Church. That's actually where they have their Christmas market in front of that church. But let me show you the link on this one. Here's our link for the trip. Any questions on this?
Jay,
Yeah.
how many people do you think are on this cruise with you? Are they all from Collette?
Well,
Is it
yeah, we charter the whole
English?
ship. The whole ship is
Oh.
ours. Yeah.
Is it all in English or is it
Yeah.
in the?
Well, it's all English, and that's part of the reason we do it, because Americans don't like when everything's repeated 5 times in different languages. So we always charter the boat, so it's all Americans and Canadians, you know.
What do you think you'd wear? It looks like everybody's got the big coat.
You know, the temperature varies. It was funny when I was there, we had the weirdest thing. So it was comfortably cool when I was there. There was no snow. In fact, for most of us, they normally don't get snow till real close at Christmas. And most of us do this the first week in December, but I can never promise with weather. I wanted snow because that's like white Christmas stuff. And as long as I'm not shoveling, I'm always fine with snow. I just don't want to shovel it. But we had mostly like high 50s, low 60s. So like light sweater, light jacket. And then we got to Regensburg that day, and there was this breeze coming through, and it was freezing. And none of us brought, I had gloves, scarf, all that stuff. Well, guess where it was? In my suitcase. I'm like, oh, geez. So we had that cold day, I grinned and bared it, you know, and anyways, next day I show up with the scarf, the gloves, blah, blah, blah. It was back up to 64. I was like, oh my God, it was just, so we had one cold day. The rest was just cool. But it can be, you know, obviously if you take this trip, you want to look the week before at the weather predictions and just make sure you're good. But generally, I just count on cold to cool, but not freezing to death. Yeah.
Sounds, I put in there some messages. I'm sorry, you sold me. What was it? You said, and hello. And I looked into it and I said, I'm sorry, I'm going.
Well, like I said, especially if you've shopped around for
I'm
river
going the
cruise.
trip. Yes, it looks like I mean, you're absolutely right. I've known people who've done the small ships
Yeah.
and they say it's really, really nice. I mean, I have never done a small ship. I've only done the massive ones like you talked about. But from what people say, it really is wonderful. So you
Yeah.
convinced me. My friends
Oh.
convinced me. Sounds good to me.
Well, it's such a good bargain. I mean, $34.99 has your
Yes.
airfare, 3 meals
Yes.
a day. Once you're aboard that ship, 3 meals a day, including your drinks in the evening at dinner. I mean, it's a steal, you know.
It looks great.
And so much better than sitting at home shopping on Amazon or going to the mall, you know? I mean, that's what we're doing normally that time of year. We're at the mall or on Amazon. So
Absolutely right. The
Yeah.
gifts are a little bit more distinctive when they come from over there. You're absolutely right.
that's true. That's true. Anybody else with questions? No? All right. I just want to give you a heads up of something where that we already have out. And believe it or not, we already have signups. And I'm amazed because we haven't shown anything. And this to me is another rockin' bargain, you know? This is coming in February of 23. And this is a 2-week trip, everybody, to South Africa. Okay. Really great sightseeing. You know, we're going to do Johannesburg. We're going to spend 3 nights in Kruger National Park. So you get some game drives in with your 3-night stay. Then we fly as a group south down to Neisner for a 2-night stay. We go to Stellenbosch, the wine region, for a 2-night stay. And then we have a 3-night stay in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, Cape Town. All right. This trip is under 5. All right. 49. I think it's 49.49 right now. So what a steal for a 2-weeker. Now, there are extensions if you want to fly up to Zimbabwe and visit Victoria Falls. That's an available extension. They also have a Dubai extension. So once again, we'll do a totally separate travel show on this to highlight it, because this one takes a little time too. But I just want to let you know it's coming and to go see the link, take a look at it. And yeah, it's just another fabulous trip at a great, great price. I've been to South Africa twice and just love it. I'd go tomorrow if I had the time and money, you know?
Hey, can you be our tour guide if we sign up to go?
Oh, I'd love that. But no, they don't allow me to work
Oh,
in South
God.
Africa. Yeah.
If we can, no.
We're going to look at one though, Dolores. We talked about that. Yeah. Because I
Yes.
just came back from 2 tours myself back in the.
I'm going to convince Jay that he does such a good job on these Zoom. He must do it even better in person. I don't think there's any question that you can leave
Oh,
unanswered.
You
Right,
are
I
sweet.
agree.
Thank you.
I agree.
So, a few different terms and conditions and all that stuff. I just like to mention everybody. So on any of our tours, if you want to do business class air, we can get you a quote. I know it's expensive, but some folks only fly business. I'm jealous. When you go to the link, it tells you about any side trips. We try to be very transparent so that you don't get anything sprung on you when you get there. So check out those. You can do pre-nights with us, post-nights with us. You can go early. People do that a lot. They say, if I'm flying all the way to Europe, I want 3 extra nights at the end here and what have you. The main thing is please do it early. I don't know if it's a COVID thing or what, but I had folks 3 weeks before their trip trying to change their air. And I'm like, you know, once your ticket's made, the airlines don't let you change for free. So you can do almost anything you want 5 months before a trip. But when you're trying 2-3 weeks before a trip, it just doesn't work. Okay. So I think it might be a COVID thing. I had people on Labor Day wanting to do fall foliage trips. And I'm like, the leaves are changing in 10 minutes. Every trip sold out. Where you been? So I don't know. It's just a different world out there right now. But this is what we're best known for. If you're on watching one of my presentations for the first time, we've had the same policy for 50 years. We're family owned. We know things happen. And we just feel if you don't want to go, we don't want you to go because you're not going to be very fun on the trip. And so our insurance lets you cancel anytime, any reason, whether it's a bad hairdo or a crazy dog or whatever. You shouldn't have to produce doctor's notes, death certificates, and beg and plead in today's world. So highly recommend our insurance. It runs anywhere from $299 to $349, depends on what we're doing. Or sorry, $449. That's anything with a cruise is $449. But it's a flat price for everybody. We don't base it on your age. We don't base it on your health. And it lets you cancel anytime, any reason, but also covers you medically while you're on the trip. All right. So if you get sick, have to go to the hospital, fly home day 3, any of these kind of things, it takes care of all of it. All right. So really good insurance. We have our loyalty program. So those of you that
I did
are,
hear from some of the people who canceled.
I don't know if that was me or you. I couldn't quite hear everything.
Oh, I was just going to add that the people who did cancel on the Canadian trip were very happy the way with Collette handled their cancellation. There was no complaints whatsoever.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, because most of my competitors are doing vouchers. And to me, that's not fair. You give a company $3,000-$4,000. You don't want future travel credits or vouchers. I mean, they just break out a Xerox. It's like, no, I want my money back, you know? And so I'm really glad we did that. you know, even though it's been, I'm sure, trying on the company, but I just want to mention, if you do these trips, you get 150 off your next one. So those of you that are going to Amsterdam would have 150 off this river cruise or 150 off the islands of New England. So it's just a nice thank you for traveling with us. And then don't forget your passport. A lot of us have had these in a drawer for a long time. So be sure to pull them out, see when it expires. You might need to renew it, what have you. No visas to discuss on anything I showed. So that's kind of nice. And then I just want to remind you about booking deadlines, because we're a little past deadline on the Netherlands. Luckily, we still have 6 seats left, but it's important to watch deadlines and book before the deadlines if you can. So like you notice the Christmas markets trip, those rates are great because we're saving $500, but those savings expire April 3rd. So when you go to the web link on April 3rd, all the rates are going to be 500 higher than they were. All right. And without fail, someone's going to call us on the 4th of July or Memorial Day and say, I think I want to go on that Christmas river cruise. And they'll end up paying 500 more because they didn't book on time. So that's why we're showing all this now, just to give you the advantage of booking early. All right. And if you're not sure how we work, this is another plus that a lot of people don't realize, but I think it's great, is let's say you sign up today for the Christmas markets trip. We know you're signing up a year and a month early, and we know life happens, things happen. You might have a kid get married or blah, blah, blah. Well, the nice thing is if you cancel before April 3rd, you get every penny back, including your travel insurance. All right. So I don't know about you, but I'd rather have 10 of you sign up and 10 of you cancel, and at least you have the opportunity, than deal with the person who's going to call us on the 4th of July and be mad they're paying 500 more and scream about it and what have you. So just keep those policies in mind. When you sign up early, you have plenty of time to change your mind and get every cent back. All right. Which is always better than signing up late and paying more. Okay. Anyways, I just want to give you a quick way to reach me. If you have any, tough questions or questions you don't want to ask during this meeting, that's my cell number and my email. And I think that's about it for photos. How about more questions for Dolores and myself before I stop the recording?
Okay, I just posted a question. Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, I just posted the question, can we invite, a member of our family or a friend to come with us, even if they
Yes.
are not, right? Thank you,
Absolutely,
Dolores.
absolutely. When we first started our program, I asked the board to make sure that this was going to be able to be done, because people want to travel not only with their associates from work, but they want to bring family and friends along with you. So they said, absolutely. So, if they sign up with you, absolutely, they can come.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and keep in mind the airport prices, everybody, are different. So we have most travelers coming out of Los Angeles and San Francisco. So you'll see on all of our tours, we price everything out of LA, San Francisco. When you start getting into smaller airports, like where I live, I'm outside Sacramento, airfare's higher. In fact, when I want a good bargain or a direct flight, I go down to SFO, even though it's kind of a headache for me. It's 2.5 hours or more. But, I just like to explain that. So if you have family wanting to go out of New York or Boston, their price is probably a couple hundred cheaper than ours. All right. If you're going to Europe.
But you can do other airports, right, Jay? If
You
someone
can.
wants, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just like to stress, because some people don't get it. They'll say, well, I want to fly out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Wait a minute. Why does it cost more? Well,
Yeah.
it's what they call a secondary airport.
Right.
So smaller airports cost more. Bigger airports are less. So SFO and LA are great rates. And then New York and Boston, East Coast mega airports are always the cheapest to Europe. So that's how that works.
Oh, what's good too, Jay, is that I noticed that everyone has a lot of questions, which is after to get all your questions asked, get all your questions answered, and you're happy to go. It's better than waiting to a week before where you say, oh, wait a minute, wait. Did you say I'm not going to have a greater view if I don't have that top cabin? No, you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. You're absolutely right.
Are there
And
any
those
other?
pictures are terrific.
Any
Thank
other-
you for those pictures. Those are great.
Oh, it gets me in the mood, especially with Christmas coming. I wish this were now.
my.
I'm ready to go
my.
now. Yeah.
Well, I was telling Jay, I have some friends who are traveling. They've done a lot of Christmas market cruising, and they've decided they're hoping to join us instead of going on AMA Waterways. I said, oh, no, you need to come with the UC Travel Group. You'll have much more fun, much more fun.
Yeah.
I just
It-
want to say, Joy, I don't have a question, Jay, but I just want to encourage people that that Belgium, Netherlands, and France trip,
Oh, yeah.
6 spots left. I hope people take those spots because I've never seen the Floriade, but Kukenhof, for folks who love flowers, is the most amazing place. And Amsterdam and the London extension. Amsterdam and London are my 2 favorite cities in Europe. I love both of them.
Oh, wow.
So much fun. Yeah.
Great. I love to hear from people who have been to the places because it doesn't sound as, it doesn't sound so far away when someone can
Right.
say,
Right.
oh, I've
Yeah.
been there, I've seen it.
I'm
Absolutely.
not even a gardener, and Kukenhof just blew me away. It was
How much is
so
that trip?
amazing.
How much is that trip to the Netherlands?
I think it's $52.49 right now with air per person double.
Oh, and somebody reminded they want to see they want to know the single supplement for London, Jay.
Oh, all
If you
right.
stop sharing your screen, then you can show.
Let me do that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna stop the share. There we go. Let me go look that up. And then I'll try to stop recording here in a minute too, but we might have some folks listening to the recording that want to know single to London too. So let's see. Netherlands, that's it. Okay. All right. Looks like, yeah, 300 more. So it's $8.99 double to add the 3-night London stay. If you go as a single, it's $11.99.
And on those extensions, Jay, is there a tour guide, or you do what you want to do on those extensions?
We usually have what they call a local. Well, all our guides are local, but it's basically when you get there, someone that's there. See, our tour guides are in the hotel with you. They stay with you the whole trip. When you do the extension, they're available at certain hours. They usually go to their
Okay.
home at night, not stay in our hotel, things like that. So a
Yeah.
local host or local escort.
Okay.
Yeah, just to make sure you're not lost or anything going on there.
Right.
Stu, that was a great question. Let me follow up with one. When you go on those extensions, they get you to the airport and take care of you, just like you were on the main event, right?
Yeah.
Oh, terrific.
We try to take care of everything. I mean, that would be a horrible tour if you land and nobody's there to drive you to the riverboat or anything. I mean, that's not, yeah.
Didn't you have a story you told me that an event was canceled and the lady did not pay attention and she took the trip or something like that? Didn't you tell me?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, when we went to Amsterdam, we did a river cruise when we went to Amsterdam, and my husband and I went 4 days early just on our own, did Amsterdam by ourselves. And the tour company went with, which was not Collette, did not tell us that the ship was docking in a different place than they originally told us. And so we like to walk. So we walked 4 miles out to where we thought the ship was docking with our luggage. We take just carry-ons, and we got out there and our ship wasn't there, and we almost missed our departure because the nice police officers that were out where we were gave us a ride back into Amsterdam, so we would not miss our departure.
How scary is that, Sue?
It
Oh
was
my God.
crazy.
Gosh.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh, Jay,
Yeah.
there's a question here. Miss Cronin says that she's traveled to most of these places 50 years ago. Would I be in for sight shock or crowds? What do you think?
I'm sorry, side shock or crowd?
Site, the site, where there would be in for the site of what's going on and how
Like,
things
is
are.
it very different, real different than 50
Was
years
it,
ago, I
would it
think.
be,
Pa-
what do
Well,
you think?
the big cities have changed quite a bit, Amsterdam and Paris, yeah. Some of the smaller towns, boy, it'll seem like just 50 years ago, you know? Um, I mean, I'm hoping travel's still down a bit next year because this year everybody's raving that's going.
Mhm.
Of just how few, you know, there's fewer crowds. I mean, you know, you go to Venice, you can't lift your elbows as September in Venice. Well, this past September, you could do cartwheels. There were so few people there. And I got to admit, it makes me regret that I'm not overseas right now. I mean, I've learned in the past I should always travel when everyone else is afraid. You know, I went to Africa during the Ebola because I looked at a map and realized I was 3,000 miles away from Ebola. And I thought that's like New York City to here. And I loved it at the resorts. And they were a third full. You get upgrades everywhere, you know. So, anyways, I think the next 9 months are the time to travel to Europe while everyone else is staying home and going to national parks and afraid because you're just going to have more space to yourself. Pre-pandemic, the world was getting really crowded with a lot of tourists. And I know places like Venice, we're going to start banning cruise ships. They said we just have too many people here. And I mean, now post-pandemic, the crowds are greatly reduced. And hopefully, I'm sure Floriade is going to bring some big travel groups to the region, but hopefully it won't be the numbers pre-pandemic. That was probably a long answer to a short question. I'm sorry.
No, I know that was good. I recall that when I was there, it's nothing like it is here. I mean, it's not, you know, tons of people and pushing and shoving.
Yeah.
I was impressed with the fact that it wasn't the Disneyland kind of way of going
Yeah.
about things. You know,
I
it's
think
a
what I'll
lot different.
do for the sake of our recording, folks, is just turn it off and say thank you for joining us.